So good to see everybody here at the Rototom SUNSPLASH and also at the respective computers at home and abroad. So this is the very first session at Rototom SUNSPLASH 2026, according to this year's motto, the place to be. And when we look at the state of the world, we better create our own state here at Rototom and carry the Rototom state of mind with us to our respective homes. In a world which is more and more dominated by artificial intelligence, the Reggae University is a place and space where real people come together to listen to each other, to think for themselves, to question things, and to exchange ideas, etc., etc. Before I come to our guest, let me briefly introduce our panel. We have the Italian journalist and broadcaster Pier Tosi at the very end of the table. His radio show, Soul Shakedown Party, is on air since 1992 in Italy and since 2019 in Jamaica. And next to him is the author and documentary maker David Katz, who recently released his new book, Dub Revolution. He has limited copies of it here.
Come see me after the session. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I just wanted to say. See him after the session, or if you want, check the White Rabbit website. And next to me is Pete Lilly, and I'm Ellen Lilly Köhlings. As you might know, after 126 printed issues of Rhythm magazine, we went online. Rhythm.world is a bilingual reggae and dancehall magazine in English and German. It consists of an ever-growing archive of articles of the last 25 years of Rhythm magazine, as well as fresh content that keeps the rhythm spirit alive. Thank you. Today we have a very special guest who has many faces, from Headside to Ghetto Reggae. He has managed to stay relevant over decades and is one of the best performers when it comes to dancehall music. He doesn't need a long introduction. Welcome again, Clifford Smith, better known as Mr. Vegas, to our first Reggae University session. And I'm also going to play some music, but first I have a few questions. And Vegas, yes. So what does it take to stay relevant over such a long period of time in a business which is kind of known for short-lived careers?
First of all, whoa, beautiful microphone. I just want to say thanks to everyone who is braving this heat to be here. It's a privilege for me to be here to answer your questions. How do I remain to stay relevant? I think I have done, great songs with great producers. I think I've managed to, I was lucky or fortunate to be a part of the original dancehall class. Yes? I came from the producers like Danny Brownie, Steely and Clevie, Tony Kelly, who created instrumentation that you can still dance to this day. When you hear the phrasing, we call it the intro, on these beats, pa 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 pa, it never gets old. And I'm just lucky to be a part of that. So that is the relevance there. That is what keeps me relevant. So whenever you hear pa 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 pa, it reminds you of something from the 90s and the early 2000s, and then you say, oh, Mr. Vegas has something on that too. So that's what I, believe has kept me in the music. And I am very vocal on social issues on the internet. I speak a lot, and I believe when you're out of sight, you're out of mind.
That's true. Yeah, we're going to talk about this special phases of your career in detail. Before doing this, you, not recently, but a couple of years ago, since we are at the Reggae University, You made your bachelor in sociology and anthropology at the Florida International University. So how did that come about, and why did you choose these subjects?
Well, I grew up in the hills of St. Andrew. I grew up very poor. I had a single mom. She used to just like do domestic work, like, you know, when people go around and they wash people's clothes, or they, you know, do like, you know, they call them a helper, you know, in Jamaica. So my mom, you know, she brought us up and she instilled in us a level of, you know, discipline. Yeah. So coming from that poor beginning, I managed to, you know, have this ambition to always want to learn, always want to do better. So when I dropped out of school before I got into music, I left school in the 8th grade, about 13, 14 years old. And I decided that I need to re-educate myself, especially in a digital era where we are speaking a lot on the internet, we're speaking to people, and I wanted to know what I am speaking about. And you know, sociology and anthropology afforded me the ability to study people, you know, to study culture, to study, you know, different societies and how people operate and why this is happening and why are there so many wars? Yeah, I would like to know. I do not want to just speak on it out of ignorance. So, you know, that drove me into that direction. And I re-educated myself. I went to, first I had to do a GED to get into college. Then I went to college, Broward University. Then I went to FIU, yeah? And I got a bachelor's, I earned a bachelor's degree, you know, so, wow. And even at my age, I'm still learning, I'm still trying to go and do my master's, because I believe, you know, as long as you have the ability to, you know, and your cognitive level is still, you know, able, you know, to receive things and maintain things, I believe it's important for me to continue to educate myself.
Yeah, and I think in a time where we live in it, it's really so important to not be ignorant, you know.
Yes.
As you said, with the wars around and with everything which is going on with the technology, which is so fast, you know. It's really, you have to kind of be prepared.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, let's, you know, take a close look at your career, Vegas. So what made you turn to music in the first place? What was there an urge, or did you like say, I have the voice, or what was it?
I don't think I turned to music. I think music was just a, you know, inner thing. I used to be a runaway from home. I hung out around the sound systems, and, you know, the music was just there. And I loved it. I was just, you know, like, you know, a young kid, ran away from home, because my other siblings, my older siblings, they were very abusive. So I ran away from home, and, you know, the sound systems were right there, you know, at the street dances. And I would hang out around the sound system, and I fell in love with the music. It was just something that, you know, we connected. Yeah, so after, you know, one night there was a DJ, and he was the best DJ in my community. And I decided that I was going to grab the microphone and challenge him. Yes? So, you know, I took the microphone and I started singing a truck turn, a cover. Yeah? And then they said, DJ, and I was like, yeah, DJ, now left me country, now left me country, now left me country now. In the country where we born and grow, hey, in the country where we born and grow, me yum sweet potato, yum and tomato, patty and choke. And I was like, bah, 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 bah. You know, so, right. And then I said, you can sing and you can DJ. Because DJ was more of like a big voice. You know, individuals, like, yeah, your voice had to be like, you know, a deep, you know, Daddy U-Roy sound. You know, so I was just there with a little voice, and I was just, you know, and people loved it, and I could sing, and I could DJ, and I think people started to be like, sing for me, sing for me, sing for me. And, you know, when I was going to school, I went to school no shoes. So the only thing I had was a good voice. Yes? And during the breaks, you know, to attract the girls, yeah, all I did was sing. you know, and they wanted me to sing, and that was, you know, where I got that, you know, confidence that, yeah, I can do this. I was like, never seen you looking so gorgeous as you've been tonight. And they were beating to this, never seen you shine so bright. And they were just like, Papa. I was like, yeah, I can do this, yeah.
And what was it like, you know, to get a foot into the business at that time? Was this, you know, especially when you say, oh, you know, you're coming from a poor background, so how hard was it, you know, to...
It was extremely difficult. I've been trying to get that break since I was going to school. At about 13 years old. It came like, you know, over 10 years after. In Jamaica back in those days, and I believe that is the reason why Lieutenant Stitchie and Admiral Bailey and Beanie Man and these artists are so great. Because it had to, you know, you had to really fight to get in. You had to be talented. You know, it's not like, you know, I can go into the studio now and I can say a little line, and then I can go back and patch a little line. You know, those days, you had to sing outside before you get into the studio. So we had to like audition for the security at the gate. And the security, if he decides that you had a chance to get inside for the producers to hear you, then you would get through the gate. Or you had to go and buy the security's lunch. Yeah? So when we went to Scarpia Studio, there was a security. When we went to Penthouse Studio, there was a security. When we went to Jammy's, King Jammy's studio, there was a security. And that is the first line of defense. So if you managed to get past the producer, then you had a chance for King Jammy's, you know, to hear you. And that was a story of many greats, just to get through that gate. Some started on the sound system. For you to even get the microphone, yeah, someone had to hear you. And be like, yeah man, him bad enough, hear him out. And you would be the warm-up, you know, when they're stringing up the sound system. And then they say, oh, you really have some talent. And that is how many of us got our start. Yes? And of course, those days, you were so eager, you just wanted to get the break, you just wanted to get out of poverty. So, I think a lot of producers, maybe a strong word is exploited, yes, the situation, because we were so desperate to get this break. So we had gone into the studio and we just did all these songs, and many producers to this day, they do not have any rights to their music. So the negative impact that came after with many of these artists, some of them died and you cannot, you know, they have to collect money to bury them. You know, people had to bury them. You know, their family got nothing. Yeah, you hear these stories all the time. And because everyone, it was just so difficult to get in that when you get into that studio and they put the beat on, you don't care about any paperwork, you don't care about nothing. You're like, yo, I need this break. And I think many of us were exploited by producers, record labels, you know, because it was so difficult to get in. So I went through that same process and I learned, you know, from the sound system, from singing for the security to get to Danny Brownie where I could sing Heads High.
And Vegas, I cannot, you know, I have too many steps here.
Right.
Would take.
And it's a lot of explaining, so cut me if I'm being, you know, long-winded.
No,
this
it's
is
good.
great.
It's
This is
good.
great.
Please go on, you know. And yeah, you owe your special style of delivery a severe assault involving a crowbar. So maybe you can share with the Rototom people what exactly happened.
Before that happened, before that incident, you know, Sanchez is still like one of my favorite singers. So my style was like Sanchez. And many Jamaicans, we listen to cover songs, like songs, international hits. You know, we call it soul songs. And we would try to fit these songs on reggae beats, you know, dancehall beat. So that was what I was doing. If you listen to a song called Every Time, you know, at one point the label said Sanchez, because I tried to have the same sound. Yes? So after my cousin, a cousin of a cousin, some family member, you know, there was a confrontation, and when I walked away, he used a piece of iron and hit me in my face, and my jawbone was broken. So my mouth was wired shut for 6 weeks, and during that time, all I could do was hum. Yes, like I just heard beats, and I was like, So that was when I heard that beat that he just played, that I got from Jeremy Harding, who was Sean Paul's previous manager, yeah? And I had the beat, and I was just there with the beat, and I was like, And then I started writing words, and as soon as the wires were taken out, I went to the studio. Jeremy Harding, you know, I said, I'm ready, yes? So the day when I did Nike here, my mouth could hardly open. So I could not go back to singing like Sanchez used to sing. Because every time I close my eyes, I couldn't open up my mouth. So I just was like singing through my teeth. Like, I'm want to see you on in the air. You never get that something, and I care. And I couldn't go air because my mouth was still sore. So I was like, here, all day and them in the year, I'm there. And it was like a new sound was born.
Yeah, maybe you can also play a part of it.
Check it out, die die do, die do. Like, come on. Well, no one to see you all in the air. You never get a slam yet, for and I care. All of the and them in the air, yeah, me there. You never get a slam for your bus fare. Pressure them, yeah, me there. In the latest aware, them can't smear your career. With you, them want compare, but you no borrow where. You no chase man like Chuck Beer. You no get no kill Islam, no confront no man. Tell them you no one night stand. So tell a girl move along, go back where she come from. Tell them say you never borrow man. Let me say you want in the air. You never get a slam yet, me and I care. All of the and them in the air, yeah, me there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just great, right?
Wow.
The Playground Rhythm by Jeremy Harding and Nike Air, one of the best tunes on the rhythm. And you know, Vegas, so how did you come about that you had that tune on that rhythm? If I remember it right, it was not at that time that you were a big name in dancehall already, but how come you could voice this rhythm? So what had happened?
Firstly, I have to give credit to Don Youth. Don Youth is one of the first, what we would say, uptown DJ. Yes? So Don Youth was the one who took me to Jeremy Harding. Yeah, that is Sean Paul's camp. Mm-hmm. That Sean Paul was like upcoming artist as well. So when I went there, you know, Jeremy Harding, he liked the sound. But as I said, I was not singing this way. Yes? So, as of course the broken jawbone, it contributed to the way that sound. Yeah? But it was Don Youth who really took me there. Then he took me to Weepow from Stone Love. And he introduced me to Weepow, and Weepow liked what he heard as well. Yeah? And that was still sounding like Sanchez. So I think because I was already doing those songs with Don Youth and I was around Weepow, you know, to what do you call it, ride the rhythm? You know, we say like a sit down on a rhythm like a lizard on a limb. Like, you know? So I think that came from, and of course I used to sing on sound system, you know, when I was younger. So I think that's why you have that connection with the, you know, it's like the beat is complementing my voice and the melody, and my melody is complementing the beat as well.
And, you know, Nike Air was followed by an even bigger hit, you know, Head's Eye. And how did Head's Eye then on Danny Brownie's Filthy Rhythm come about?
One day I was on the beach, and Nike Air was getting, you know, some recognition, but I wasn't this big artist as yet. Some artists may end up being a one-hit wonder, like what you said, and I was afraid of that. So I saw an artist called Mr. G. We used to call him Goofy at that time. And he had a song, Pricker, 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 Here Come Fudgy. He and Red Rat used to be like in the same camp, in Main Street. So I saw him on the beach and he said, Danny Brownie has one of the best beat that is going to come out in December. And I was like, can you get him to get me on the beat? So I didn't hear back from him, so I went there myself and I spoke to Danny Brownie's wife, Colette Brownie. And every day I would go there before the office opened and I would give her jokes, and I was just like giving her jokes, and I was like, your husband need to record me, And I said, you talk to him? And I think she spoke to him, and one day she said, he's gonna record you. And he gave me the beat when I went down to the studio on a cassette. I went to my cousin's house. I already had the melody, head's eye, and some of the lyrics. So when I heard the filter beat, my melody was just, in sync with the beat. The synchronization of my melody that I had on the beat, it was like crazy. So I was like, na 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 na. He let me know. It was just like so connected. And I wanted to do my verses like you had Bone Thugs and Harmony. So their style was, and I like that flow. So that's why you're gonna skin your teeth and let me see the top of your bad.
Okay.
Right, because I was listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Okay.
And they were like not taking any breath. It was like, so I was like, what? Skin your teeth and let me see the top of your bad. And you never dream, so it,
Well,
right.
Let's listen to a short snippet again.
No, 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 no. Kill them with the no. No, 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 no. Kill them with the head side. Kill them with the no. Just make a boy know you're not blow. Head side. Kill them with the no. No boy ain't got no secret for your boy. Head side. Kill them with the no. Just make a boy know you're not blow. Head side. Kill them with the no. Tell them say Vegas say so. Before you skin your teeth, come let me see. You're sure from your bones and you never tweet.
So many years later. It's still a huge tune, right? So what did this song do to your career, Vegas?
Ooh. I remember before he even had Nike here. As I said, when I had Nike here, I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. I was terrified of being just, having one song. So when Head's Eye came out, it was 1997 December when it came out. And it started playing on the radio. And Billy Slaughter from Stone Love Sound System, he said he called me and was like, I play your song last night at Miami and it mashed up the place. I was like, which song? He said, a new song. I was like, which song? Did not eat and make me say, I was like, what? So right after that, I started getting calls to go to Miami in the US. I used to only dream of going on planes. So I started getting a lot of requests to go to, to Florida because it was blowing up in Florida. Yes? And it changed my life significantly. I was, I remember one time just praying to get one song to help my mom who was still washing people's clothes. And when that song came, it just changed everything. My whole life changed. I was able to, buy a house, and, I was sleeping on the floor at one point at my brother's house, and it was just a significant upgrade. Yes? And, it went #1 in Jamaica, and #1 in New York, all over the world. It was just tearing up the place. It became the biggest song on the beat, the top song on the beat, and, then it entered the British chart at number 16, and I was like, wow. But the issue with Like a Head's Eye and many other hits back in the days, we could not do the numbers that you would see and attribute those numbers to the songs. Because when we had a hit song, it would be like 4 or 5 different compilations plus your album. So now the sales of that record is being divided. Yeah? So Reggae Gold, strictly the best. Green Sleeve, Raga Raga, whatever the different compilations. So we would have been doing numbers back in those days like the international acts. But we could not because the producer would have licensed the same song to 5, 6 different entities or outlets. So my album could not compete with Universal in the United States. In England, it went number 16 in the British chart because it was just Green Sleeves in England, in the UK. So when you look at that and you look at the US chart, it only went into the Billboard R&B chart, not the top 100. Why? Because there were so much competition. There was a remix. Kill them with it. So artists back in those days, we had to be competing with ourselves based on the nature of the business. Because there's a law that I think needs to be looked at, I think in the music laws in Jamaica, where it says that the one who provides the tape and maybe the studio time owns the master. So it's later on that I started reading these clauses in the act and trying to get it to the government officials to repeal or to institute the correct thing so artists can benefit from their rights. Yeah, from their likeness, their image. Yeah. So I've been looking at that. I've been trying. I have a good relationship with the now government, and I intend to keep on pushing for that because I believe that your intellectual property should not be controlled by so many different entities without you having any say. Yes, and I think we should co-own our masters. Yes, and there are so many artists and there's so many stories like a Head's Eye. Why is it that they did not have better numbers? Why many artists, did not have or do not have a plaque in their house saying this is a platinum record? Is because there were so many different companies that licensed these records and the sales were being divided. So that is the story of Head's Eye, and I'm sure there are so many more stories.
And was this the reason, Vegas, why you did like an artist cut of the album, of your debut album, Head's Eye, in the end, or?
I learned that from Taylor Swift.
Right.
I am a freak of nature when it comes down to doing research and gathering information. I love intelligent people around me. I'm actually the least educated in my social circle. Everyone is way brighter than me. So I'm always learning. And when I saw what Taylor Swift did, she re-recorded her whole album and she told her fans, get this copy. So I realized, I can re-record all the songs on Head's Eye or most of the songs or the hit songs and re-release a copy of myself or my version or my master. And if someone should sample anything from my compilation, then my children will get something. Just like Bob Marley children, they're able to claim if you wear a Bob Marley shirt and they see you, they ask you where you got it from.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
And important, and
Very
when we
important.
look at foundation artists, what happened to them because of the,
And I've been preaching this, so luckily I saw an interview or something where Sean Paul said he's going to re-record his masters too, and I said, go for it. You got a big catalog. Yeah.
Yeah, and since you just mentioned his name, maybe we can play one of the biggest combinations, Hot Girl, today.
And yeah, you can't go away. My girl, my boo. Yeah, I'm too. Shut up while I'm with the music. Just say, She la 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 bom bom she re. Aya ni boca ya she re. La 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 bom bom she re. Aya ni mala fiesta ya ya. Come here, son of a one guy. Side of the ya da no se awa. Big big son of one. Put it up in the
Yeah, big tune again. Yeah, and the tune is on Damn Right on your sophomore album, and it was #1 on Billboard's Hot Rap charts,
Yes.
if I remember it
Yes,
right.
yes.
And what can you tell us about Hot Girl today? So how the combination came about? Take us back into the studio, how it...
One night we were at the studio, at Jeremy Hardin's studio. A pilot came into the studio yard. Marshall Montana one time said to me, he diagnosed me, I think he's a doctor. The soca artist, Marshall Montana. So he was playing doctor. And he said, I know how you make music. You put the beat on one side of your brain and you make the melody on the other side of your brain. I was like, maybe I need to get my brain checked. Because it was so profound. So the pilot came into the studio yard and he was humming a melody. And I was like, can you hum that melody again? And I instantly, it was so rhythmic. And I heard, and I just started putting words to the melody and I started expounding on the melody and it was just a vibe. So I called Don Youth, who had introduced me to Jeremy Hardin, and I said, I have an idea. I want to do something like Home Tea, Cockatoo, and Shabba Rankin. Oh, pity's me, she love. I wonder which one of them she love, which one of them she love. I wanted to do something like that. So I said, let's do a song where we are fighting over a girl. So Don Youth was like, yeah man, write my part. And I was like, oh, God. So I said, Sean, hear this melody. I want me to do a song, we're going to fight over a girl. And he said, yeah man, let me hear it. So I was like, chilla la 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 boom boom chilla. I said, you're going try to clash me over the girl, like, clash, like compete for the girl.
Yes.
So we started making the record. So I went to Steely and Cleave's studio, Studio 2000, and Sean Paul was at a different studio. So the beat there was playing, and I just hummed the melody. I was like, chilla la 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 boom boom chilla, and it was like, go record that. So I was like, it's me and a new artist from Uptown. His name is Sean Paul. He sounds like Supercat. So let me call him. So he was like, no, go record this song. I was like, trust me. So we were there waiting. Sean Paul took long to come. He didn't come to the studio. And I was like calling him, yo, Clevie and Steely studio me there. Steely want to record you, because back in those days, if Steely recorded you, it's quite likely going to be a hit. Right. Yeah? Right. So we were there waiting. He kept on saying, go record the song. I said, nah. So then Sean Paul showed up. He had a little blue Swift car. And he showed up. So we went into the studio. Sean Paul, it takes a long time to record his vocals. And I was more faster because I grew up around the sound system and stuff like that. So I was there in the studio booth with him, and we were vibing the song, chilla la 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 boom boom chilla, and he was like, being slow with his part, and Steely, because Steely is like that, yo, hey boy, I was like, no, it's good. Don't retaliate. So then we came out, and the song was just, again, sitting on the beat. It was two perfect voices, young, hungry voices you hear right there. We were really into it. We meant it. The cadence at the sound is just connected, and trust me, it's one of the songs that I ended up taking Sean Paul on tour. We performed the song, it started blowing up, and then VP took the record, took me off as an artist, a performing artist, my name off, and it was just a Sean Paul record. So we had a little falling out. I learned later that it was just a label situation.
So you mean at the time you fell out with Sean Paul because of that situation?
Right, because I felt like where we're coming from as two young artists, I expected him to be like, no, you can't take Vegas' name off the record. But I understood later on that, as I said before, it's a business. And they were spending their money on Sean Paul. And I was not signed to VP Records, who wanted to sign me. But I did not want to sign to VP Records. And Sean Paul took that chance And lucky for him, it worked out perfectly for him. He made a lot of money, he made a lot of hit records. He's one of the greatest dancehall artists that ever lived. So big up to Sean Paul.
And Vegas, you used to work for Greensleeves on your first albums, and then you moved on to Delicious Vinyl.
Right.
So what caused that move? And
I think in dancehall in Jamaica, if you're not the hottest artist today, labels are going to look at other artists. So I just believe at one point they had other interest in newer artists, more current artists. Because it's a real competitive business in Jamaica. It's a real competitive industry. And you may go on tour for 6 months, and when you go back, it's a different artist who's dominating the scene. So I think they were more interested in new artists, Greensleeve, and I was not signed to Greensleeve. I just had a situation with them with Head's Eye album and Damn Right album. So they were not obligated to me.
okay.
So, they were not interested in the pull-up record. When I came with the pull-up record, I went to Delicious Vinyl. And it became one of the staple in the music industry. I started promoting that record. No one liked the beat when I went to radio. People were saying, it doesn't sound like dancehall. The coolie dance rhythm. So I started promoting the record. I was going from city to city, from radio to radio. Then it started playing in Hartford, Connecticut. It became a #1 record there. And other radio stations started picking up the record. Then when it entered the Billboard chart, the real Billboard, this is my only top 100 song. As soon as it entered the Billboard chart, Pitbull, the artist from Miami, Mr. 305, saw me at a concert singing the song. He came to me and was like, "What's that record? Who produces that record? What are you saying?" I said, "Pull up." He said, "Okay." So I was trying to get Little John to go on my record because Little John was very hot and he was messing with, different local art. Elephant was one of the artists that he was doing songs with, and I was like, okay. So Little John likes dancehall, so I'm gonna get him on the record. So I called up, who I could call up to get Little John on the record. He heard the record and he said he was gonna get on my version. So one day someone sent a record to me with Pitbull and Little John, and it was a copy of my record. So I heard tan 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 kulo. I was like, that's my record. So I was still listening because I said, oh, maybe they remix my record and I'm going to come in. I'm going to hear my vocals. So I listened and I listened and I say, the record is past 2 minutes and I hear nothing. I was like, so they did their version and their version started playing more at radio because Pitbull can speak, he's a Latin artist. Yeah, or he speaks, Spanish. So because he's a Latin artist or he speaks Spanish, his version now replaces my version because my version was big in the Latin market. And his version, as a Spanish-speaking artist, was more dominant. My record started going in reverse. His record started going forward. He went top 30 on the Billboard. I went back to Jamaica. Right. But the good thing is, that was his start. And call it what it may, some things just happens for different reasons. I see now he has private planes and he's helping people, so some things are not the way you want it to be, but it has its purpose.
Right.
So I think that had to happen. And I got some nice publishing check.
Okay.
Yeah? Maybe I would have been a top 20 artist on the Billboard, but the good thing is I'm still alive. And, yes.
Yeah, and you didn't stop doing hit tunes, right? And the second album for Delicious Vinyl, Hot Walk,
Right.
was released in 2007 and called Hot It Up. And on this album, there's also the hit Taxi Fare. So you have so many hits. Maybe you can share first how Hot Walk came about.
That was when I was defeated after pull-up when I went back to Jamaica. And I was, I heard Left Side and Esco. they had a record and everyone thought it was Mr. Lexus and I did the record. So they were saying, I like your new record. And I was like, which record? I don't have the new songs. So it was, my girl talking your belly, from your belly in a bang. And everyone thought it was me. So I called up Lexus and I was like, we need to do a record. So I wrote Taxi Fare. That's not something you know about Taxi Fare. And I thought about them at girl around because I'm the original sound for that song. And Lexus, you know, he had that deep vocal that they were using. So I was like, we're going to do a record. So I called him, we went to the studio, I wrote the record, and Danny Brownie's nephew, Shams, Richard Brownie, he produced that record, and it became a #1 record in Jamaica. Then one night I went to a street dance. I saw a DJ called Hatabal, and he told me about this dance that some girls were doing called Hot Walk. So he was like, you need to grab it before Elephant Man. That time Mataran had dirty wine. So I was like, all right. So I didn't see the dance, I don't know. Yeah, so I started calling around and I said, yeah man, it hot for true man, I want a hot dance. So Mataran was overseas and I wanted the first Elephant Man. Yeah, so I went to the studio and Murray, my you know, used to be my manager. You know, rest in peace, he passed away. So he started playing beats for me. And I heard something and I was like, yeah, this one. So then I did a record. I called Hatabal and I said, I want you to say, Tito, because he had that style that he was using on the sound system. So I said, I want you to say this, Tito. You know, what the girl them want? You know? Yeah, and then I went for a, Opal. Yeah, she used to hang out around my brother's house. Yeah, and she was not an artist, she was just a female, and I wanted someone to say, artwork. So I said, say this, and you know, I. So I produced the record from Byron Murray. Yeah, I do not own the master. You know, VP owns the master because it was sold to VP. So I do not own the record, but I produced the record for Byron Murray, and it became such a big hit. It again went into the Billboard R&B charts. It was #1 in New York on the prime stations, the big stations there. You know, #1 in Hartford, and it just became a big record. To this day, I see people on the internet saying, you know, so.
Yeah, and you know, all these really, really big tunes, which are, you know, so many years later, still such big tunes. So what do you have, like a recipe, or how do you kind of create songs like this?
I think I just love music, and if someone says something or someone sings a melody, it connects. And I think many of the great artists are like that. I remember, and if I hear something on the radio, the melody sits with me. Sometimes I'm writing a song, I don't remember where I got the melody from, until later on it sounds similar to something. And I was like, wow. Like I had a song called Girls Time. Yeah, and it was like, Girls Time, are the sweetest time, when the sun gone in, and the moon starts shine, and the cassette in, and the tape they can rewind. Juice a blend up with red sparkling wine. Years after I realized, oh, it's from a melody I heard when I was in England.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, I'm blue, I believe I'm blue, I believe I'm blue, I believe I'm blue. I don't want the girl's time, the sweetest time. When I was like, where the hell did I get that melody from? So I think I'm like, you know, a sponge. When it comes down to melodies, I love melodies. If you give me a beat, the first thing I'm thinking of is the melody. Before any lyrics, it's the melody. And that is the way how the great producers, King Jammies, Bobby Digital, Danny Brownie, Steely and Clevie, that is the first thing they heard, was the melody. Do you have a melody? I totally believe you cannot have a song without a melody.
True fact.
And it, you know, it drives me nuts when I hear, you know, everything is in either the same melody or there is no melody for me to sing. I am not lyrics first.
Okay.
Because if I was just lyrics first, then I would be a poet.
True.
I am a singer, or if you want to call it a sing J, you know, so I hear melodies first. I hear tenor song melody first. I gotta be there. That's why we had so many songs. And you, all the time, you hear these songs that is in my dialect. You do not know the words. Y'all are, you know, but you don't know what you're saying, but you know the melody. And that is key. The melodies.
That's it.
Yeah, listening to you, Vegas, you know, there's so much passion and love for the music. It's unbelievable that there was a time in your career when you said, I'm going to quit music. That was in 2008. So what had happened? We are happy that you, of course, changed your mind again. But
I was traveling all over the world, and when you're traveling and you're going to concert late, and after the concert you go and you get food. So all that oily food and all that stuff, it was messing up my esophagus. And I had bad acid reflux. The doctors thought I had pericarditis. So they were treating me for pericarditis because when they did their x-rays or their, their check on the heart, they saw some fluid around the pericardium. So they treated me for pericarditis all these years when it was just acid reflux.
oh,
So I was in excruciating pain. And one day I just was like, I can't take this pain no more because I would be backstage and I would be in such pain. And as soon as they say, we will bring on stage Mr. Vegas, I'm like, and I run on the stage and I jumping up and, you know, I kill them with the note. There's no pain. But after I get off the stage, the pain is like, what did you just do? Yes, and it comes on 10 times or 100 times stronger. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. I threw away my show CDs and I was done. But Live Up, a producer in Jamaica, he sent one of his youth to give me a beat. And I had the beat before I decided that I was going to leave music. So I had the beat and I recorded I Am Blessed before I said I was going to quit. So I Am Blessed came out the same time when I was trying to quit.
oh, okay.
And it came out and it became a smash instantly. And I was like, people started calling. I was like, I have to go again. Because it was such a big tune. It was a massive tune. It was huge. And I Am Blessed brought me back out. I didn't even get a chance to retire. I Am Blessed. You know, and that is the reason why I think to this day, it is one of the biggest tunes of my career. And it reminds me all the time that you were trying to leave music, but music is not done with you yet. Right.
Yeah, let's listen for a snippet.
Yes, I love the blessing. I love the blessing. Father God blessing. One more blessing. I love the blessing. I love the blessing. Them can't stop me. I am blessed. I am blessed. Every day of my life I am blessed. When I wake up in the morning and I lay my head to rest, every day of my life I am blessed. Mr. Liquid got make money, money got money, I'm moving it, number one, fighting, number one. I'm putting my life up in the box and free. 40 money, money, keep going, and we love it.
Yeah, we could of course go on, and I still have many questions, but the time, as we know,
Right.
we only have like 15 minutes left,
Right.
and I would like the other panelists to ask a question and open it up for the public then.
Right.
Oh, Vegas, I have a question.
about your 2025 album. I want to say to you, big up for this Ghetto Reggae album, because I think it's one of the best albums who came out from Jamaica last year. And it's sounding contemporary, but have this old style attitude, like simple and straight and very strong. So can you tell us something about the inspiration? It's you producing the whole album, true?
Right, yes. Credit to Ed Robinson and all the musicians, Kirk Dove and Bowie and all the musicians that played a role in this record. But I think when we do albums these days, we do not do albums for sales. Because we do not, especially reggae albums, they do not stream a lot of, we don't get high numbers, or, the numbers are low when you do reggae albums. But I think it tells a story, and it's a part of the catalog. And it reminds, I just try to remind people or to educate people that this is where I'm coming from. This is where I heard the music first. And, I try to basically, convey that message in this album. This is what I heard on the sound system, the sound of King Jammers, yeah? The sound of Stereo One when I listened to a cassette and I heard Lieutenant Stitchy DJing. So that is what, Ghetto Reggae is about. That's why Ghetto Reggae is like, beat down the fence, type of music. So that is the reason why it has that sound, it's authentic, and, that's when people, I think, were first introduced to like dancehall. Because dancehall is really where the music, plays. Yeah? It's just that now we call the up-tempo beat dancehall and we separate the reggae from dancehall. But dancehall is basically the space where the dancehall plays, where the music plays. So that is just a reminder of, this is where we're coming from, Ghetto Reggae.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have a double question for you. You mentioned earlier on, Vegas, that you're preparing to do your master's, so I wanted to hear what are you going to be specializing in, and also what are you working on now, or what's coming in the future musically?
To answer the latter question, I recorded so many songs and I put them in an archive, just like what Bob Marley did. So his kids go and they discovered unreleased music. I think I put so many recordings, I keep on recording. I made some covers of some songs that I like. And I put them like in a vault, in an archive, where if the children, if any of my children out of the 7, and if they are interested in music, or if anyone is interested in music, they will find these records and they will either be artists or they will try to, remix them, so forth and so on. So that is the reason, that's my future with music. When it comes on to my master's, that I hope I get into the university that I want to get into, I'm going to do a Master of Science, in development, where it's basically along the same line as sociology and anthropology, because I'll still be learning about, the poorer class and, political, rulership or how to govern and, just different areas of the society where I can make a difference. So maybe in the future, I may venture into that field, but I'm preparing myself nonetheless, in case I decide, that I want to.
Yeah, now we would like to open it up for the audience. We have somebody over there with a microphone, yeah. So please, beautiful people, ask your question. It's your chance to ask Vegas, so please.
So
Yeah, we
have a question.
in the front.
Microphone coming.
Okay.
Hi Vegas. I'm also Jamaican, parents are from Portland. My question is, you said your broken jaw changed your style of singing. Would you say that you're back to where you were now, or is this the continuous Vegas in terms of how you sing? I'm also a singer, so I hear you now singing so much from the throat.
Right.
And through your teeth more than opening your mouth. I'm just curious.
I think what doesn't break it, do not fix it. I think the the sound worked, and it was just such a melodious sound, and I think with that vibrato on the end of the vocal, of the what do you call it, the lines when I'm singing, like Nike, you know, every time I hear it, I am, you know, like a fan of even my own endings. So I think, you know, it's killing me now. It's just that sound, yeah, and it's great that you can identify a sound. So I can identify tenor saw, I can identify Pinchers, I can identify Sanchez and Barrington Levy, and who is one of my best, you know, one of my favorite singers, reggae singers. So, you know, I am back to health with my jawbone, but the vocals, you know, I just improved on it.
Thank you.
Hi Vegas, nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Hi.
My name is Figo, I'm a singer, I'm an artist, independent. I'm in own way, I'm from Colombia, and for me the reggae is another different culture, it's a new culture, but I love it. So I make dancehall and I like the reggae music, but some people tell me that no, you have to be just one artist. No, don't do reggae and dancehall. Don't do reggaeton. Don't do. Just focus on one thing. But I love the music, man. I love the hip hop, the freestyle, the reggae, the dancehall, the reggaeton. So, what do you recommend me to do and to be a nice artist, not just for to me, but to all the people?
Mr. Vega's sound is a combination of Sanchez, Barrington Levy, tenor saw, all the graces, just all the sounds combined together. So merging sounds are experimented with the different style of music. It's always, you know, great. And reggaeton is dancehall. So let no one tell you that you cannot do reggaeton and dancehall. Reggaeton is dancehall. Yeah. That's them both. Yeah. Respect.
Yes, Mr. Vegas, blessed. My name is Zaborilla. I'm a reggae singer from Costa Rica.
Ah.
You know, I think you're coming to Costa Rica pretty soon.
October, yeah.
Right? Just want to say that I've been listening to your music since I start, because I start kind of late, you know. So I'm here with my friends, Costa Rica crew. Come to do some reggae music.
Right.
Who is your biggest inspiration as a child to create music? That's my question.
Michael Jackson is my biggest inspiration.
You got it.
His voice and his, like I wish in the next life, I would come back with a left and a right foot. Because now I have two left. Meaning I can't dance. So when I see Michael Jackson move, it's like, we're not ever going to see that again in this lifetime. And I hope when I leave this earth, you know, I will get some of that. And I will come back as a singer. I will keep my same sound, but I will be a dancer with that. So Michael Jackson is my biggest inspiration. I still to this day sit and watch hours of Michael Jackson. He was a true performer, and that is what I pride myself on, to be a true performer. I can't dance, I bring my dancers. Because I believe you must be able to dance when you come to my show. You must be able to jump, dance, sing along, and that is what Mr. Vegas is about.
Pura vida, brother.
Respect.
Okay.
Yeah, this must be the last question then. Sorry, but we have to be in time.
Finale.
Thank you. Hi Vegas.
Hi.
My name's Lorna and we saw you at Simmerdown in the UK, in Birmingham. So we was wondering what your favourite country is to perform in.
I hope I won't be cancelled. But Germany.
Really?
Germany is my favorite place to perform. I just think, I don't know what it is, but there's some songs that I don't even know the lyrics to anymore, and I go to Germany and it's on the list for people want to hear. You know, and the energy. The last concert I did in Germany, I went up into a tree and they called it the Tree of Life.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's one of my best moments.
Reggae Jam.
Oh,
Yeah,
Reggae
that was
Jam.
Reggae Jam. yes.
Vegas, we're streaming live now, so it will not be cancelled, but the German people will be happy for sure.
I appreciate it. But I love all my fans around the world, and I went to Italy the other night, and I have not been to Italy in a long time. And so many of my fans, they came and they were like showing me pictures when I had hair. And it was just an emotional feeling that they grew with my music. And they now have children, and they were young girls and young men. And they come to my show, and now they're older, and they have their children, and they brought their children to my show, and I'm like, I have managed to stay around. and that is a great feeling. The government of Jamaica, they gave me they bestowed on me the 6th highest, order in the country, the Order of Distinction. I'm going to be, receiving that in October. So now I have an OD attached to my name. And that's a true testament of the people who appreciates what I have done. Yes, and that is key for me. The people who appreciate where we're coming from and this journey. And you can still listen to I Am Blessed. You can still listen to Heads High. And when I hear Nike here, it reminds me of that first day, and it feels like that day when I went to the studio.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a great session, Vegas. Thanks for sharing all this. And don't forget, tonight he will be on the stage in the dance hall. I shouldn't say tonight, I should say in the morning, right? At 3?
Morning time.
Yeah, morning time.
And this is important to say quickly. When I was called to do the dancehall stage, because many people would rather to be on the main stage. I've done the main stage. But there is just something with the sound system vibe with me. Yeah? And I think it's more up close and personal. And we get for just make the girl them at work and rock it down,
Thank you. Yeah. And remember, lovely people, we have another session today at 7, so don't move far. We're having Queen Omega with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.